Hey guys, today we're just going to be looking at the last, really basic programming concept for Python. And yeah, what we're going to be looking at today are these things called functions. And they're, really pretty integral in the whole, programming deal. I've just made the text bigger these days, so hopefully you'll be able to see that. Just put this over here. Okay, now file, save as. Function. Save it as .py. Save. Yeah. And so basically a function they used to like compartmentalize your code so that each function in your code will do a specific thing, and then the entirety of your code is combining all these functions, with what they do to basically do what you want it to do. So to make a function, you start off with the keyword def, I guess that's for define, and then whatever you want to name the function. So this one I'm going to go add. And afterwards, in the brackets, you put the parameters that you want the function to have. So I'm just going to name them x and y, and then a colon. And then what this function will do is it'll take x, it'll return x plus y. That's a really simple function. So whenever we call this function add, we give it whatever it takes. And if we go print add, yeah, so we can change that to say 8. So yeah, again, keyword def to define the function, that's what we call it. What it takes as parameters afterwards, and then a colon, and then and then we use the return keyword to specify whatever it is that the thing returns. So I thought we would use functions to make all those changes to upgrade that game we made last time. So let's identify what do we want to do here. Well, we want a function that's going to run the program, and then at the moment we just want a function that'll generate a random answer and a function that'll check the answer. So and then what are some others functions that we can add? I'll just teach you about comments. Commenting, you do it with the hash key, and it's basically just like and they're for humans basically, just to understand what the code does when you come back and read it when you're giving it to other people, and the interpreter just skips right over that, so it won't read that. But okay. So we want a function to run the program. Run, it takes no parameters. What else do we want? Def check. We want def valid. Okay. Run. Just gonna run our program. I think we have another function that'll say def get quote. See, the good thing about using methods, or functions, is that you can write code for the rest of your thing just by knowing what it will do. Because I know that I'm going to write this to return the final answer. So I can write this function just knowing that this is going to provide the final answer. And so for this, I'm just going to have value. And then s equals random dot equals, yep, num1, num2. Okay, so now we have a function called getInput. It takes no parameters. This will basically ask for it'll ask the user for an upper value and store that upper value in this box that we made called num1, this variable. Variable called num2, it'll ask them for a lower value. In fact, I think it'd be more intuitive to swap them around. Okay, and then it generates this random integer based off the values that it gave it, and then it returns this answer. So, and then this random thing that we ended up generating is defined to be this. So, and then so we've done that, and now we want to make a function that will check. Okay. So this function will take an answer and num. Okay. Yeah, so this function takes an answer and a num. Oh, yeah, an answer and a number, and it takes two integers, and it checks whether the answer, it'll return whether the answer is bigger than the integer or not. So, okay. No. Yeah. If num is bigger than answer, print need to be higher. Okay, I think what we're going to do for this is, yep. So remember these things called booleans, which is either true or false. Actually, this will return false. Okay, so we've got this function called check. It takes the parameters ans and num, and it checks, obviously, if num is smaller than answer, then it'll print this and it'll return false. If num is bigger than answer, it'll print that and that'll return false. Else if it'll return true and print this. So in our thing, we can go true, so it just runs eternally. Check. It'll ask the user for input. Equals input. And then we call this function check. Yeah. We pass it just to demonstrate. So when we call this function check, we pass it this, and we pass it that. We use these. Now these don't have to be the same as this. These are just what's used in the code. So that's just to demonstrate that. Watch you check. Okay, yeah. If check. Whoa. Okay. So we've implemented this. So to check that it works. So at the moment it'll eternally loop this. It'll go through and it'll say answer equals get input. So it makes this box called answer and it calls this function called get input, which asks for two numbers, generates a random number, and then returns that. So that's what this is equal to. Also just demonstrate. That can be whatever. Okay. And then it'll loop through this eternally, and it'll go. It'll ask the user to have a guess, and it'll store that guess in this variable called number, and then it'll check as to whether that number is bigger, lesser than, or the same as answer. And then if this function returns true, then they've got it. So it'll print that and then break, and then it'll end. In fact, yeah, and then it'll break. So we don't need that. Else, if it returns false, then you don't run that, you just keep going. Yep, okay, that's what that'll do. Sorry, yeah. So let's see if that works. Nope. I see. I haven't implemented that yet. Okay. So to begin the program, we call our run function. Lower value 0, up value 5, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So at the moment it doesn't print this because it returns it, and then whenever you return something it just ends the function. So that'll work. Okay, and then I think the other thing we wanted to implement is to check that they actually enter in a number, because if we call run and then go there, then it'll error, because it'll try to generate a a thing with that, and it'll just all screw up. So if we want to check it, okay, input check. So def check input. What can this take? How are we going to implement this? Okay. What I'm going to do, I can take this opportunity to do like casting as well. So at the moment, this raw input, remember in the I taught you about the difference between input and raw input, because raw input will make it a string, right? And input, it'll just take it as it is. So at the moment it's thinking that that's a variable, whereas if we do raw input, it'll just take that and say, oh yeah, that's a string.